I want to talk about Ben Chilwell and Reece James. We covered them in the first
Yeah.
part with Thiago Silva, but these players for me, I think maybe we could have a debate on who's been the best performer for Chelsea so far this season, because I know you lean in the direction of Reece James, I lean in the direction of Ben Chilwell, but just generally, these two players have transformed our fullback play this year. I mean, of course, we saw glimpses of Reece last year, but it's just incredible now to finally have modern day fullbacks at Chelsea.
I mean, honestly, everyone's been moaning, like everyone's noticing the improvement in the defense. I've been saying since last season, until we see the proper fullback pairing, we aren't going to be that defense. How many times was poor positioning from an Emerson or Alonso too high up, or Emerson just I just don't know that is it the complacent arrogance that will just creep into his game for no reason, but he just mentally switches off. You don't get that from the top players. From good players, of course it happens because they're good. They can't consistently show that class. But when you go for the players above them, like your Bens, you literally see all the improvements and the differences. I do think that, of course, Ben and Reece, we have the balance now. We're able to switch the play a lot more efficiently. We have the quality. We have like a different way to break teams down because both players, let's say one side gets overloaded, we can focus play down the other side. So right now, Lampard has the fullbacks he's wanted. And as I've been saying, there's a reason why Klopp invested heavily in that area by promoting people, signing the right figures, why Pep Guardiola has spent a ton of money since he signed for Man City, just improving that fullback area. Spending a stupid amount of money on fullbacks. They're so important today. When you're playing against teams when you're a big team, small teams park the bus, use low blocks left, right, and centre. You need to have quality in every position in your team, and especially out wide. And this is where the fullbacks now play such a crucial part in modern day football, where if you don't have that right balance, they can be the difference between you winning and you losing, just due to things like your team shape being off, or moments of terrible quality in the final third, where for God's sake, seeing these guys hitting crosses off the fields, near posts, hitting the first man, left, right, and centre. Do you see how poor the crossing technique was compared to what we're now seeing with Ben and from the master, in my opinion, in Reece James? So this is what it's about. Football's always been about this, and it will continue to be about these principles, basically.
I think it's given us that extra dimension against low blocks, which was the big problem last season. How many times we'd be faced with a low block and we'd struggle to break them down. It's given us that option at the moment when teams try and crowd out or try and press, say, whether it's N'Golo Kante, Mason Mount, Kai Havertz, Jorginho. That's where they're sort of focusing because they don't want the ball to get to our fullbacks. But I think now what you're seeing from Chelsea is we do have that ability to push Reece James and Ben really high. On the width and give us width against narrow defences, and that's allowing us to break them down and give us more options. I think what's really impressed me about Ben Chilwell and Reece James, and it's not the part of the game that I think people instantly look at. I think both of them have looked so good defensively as well as offensively. Like they've given us that balance, which is such a key word so far this season. But
Yeah.
that's the thing that stunned me. I didn't expect Ben Chilwell to be this good defensively. Like I didn't
Oh,
expect him
yeah.
to, that's something that has. I knew he'd improve our mobility there and improve us going forward and give us that acceleration that we needed there. But just he seems to have that game intelligence already. I don't know if it's the players around him who are helping him in that, but what do you think? Because I think he's been
I
really good
think
so
it's
far.
a combination of everything. I think like when you assemble a great team, everyone's strengths complement each other, and then it becomes a combined strength. You know what I mean? I think with Ben, I knew that he was a good defender. I'm in the same boat as you. I didn't realize he was this great. And this is like the beauty of like actually watching these guys play more live. I don't know. Maybe it's like when you're a fan and you see a player play for your club. It's just like the veils get like dropped and you can finally see things for what they are. You know what I mean? With Ben, he really reminds me of Ashley Cole. I that is honestly the one player he eerily reminds me of. And it's just like I see him do the things that Cole used to do back in the day when I used to watch him from the East End. Like number one is how he tackles. You're saying, wow, this guy's a tackler. But you see that tenacity, that intensity. Like when he gets the ball, boom, he's going straight, getting tight to his man. And then there's one hard, tenacious tackle to win that ball cleanly, like Cole used to do. It wasn't like an Alonso who, he's annoy me all the time because I know what a fullback's supposed to be doing in this area. He'd be like chasing after the winger. When are you really seeing Ben Chilwell ever having to play merry-go-round with the winger to finally get the ball off him, or even leaving that space for him to get done by? It doesn't happen. You see it in his qualities when he's winning aerial balls. I was thinking, wow, how is Ben, for his height, winning these aerial balls left, right, and centre? This is like, again, remind me of Ashley Cole, who was the very same when it came to being amazing in the air, but such a small guy. And then I realised when I was really looking at his game, it's his technique. You know what he does? He comes in the side. And I remember seeing this technique the first time from Michael Bagg when he signed for us. I felt like the minute he did that, it was just so smart because, of course, when you're jumping in with your shoulder, you can apply more pressure to push the other guy, put him off balance. And if you're just good in the air naturally, then that's just going to take your aerial game to a different level. And I've always thought, how come when players go for aerial balls, you don't see them jump on the sides? You know, use their upper body to their advantage to help them in those balls. But this is what the best players do. And I just think that, again, you know, Ben doesn't have too much. It's not like he has like tons of space he has to defend in because the unit of the team is very compact and very good. So, yeah, man, it's just no surprise to me that we're just seeing his best qualities and why he's looking like, for me, we finally got our replacement for Ashley Cole. After all these years, all these signings, all this money wasted, we finally signed a serious left back.
Yeah, he's been class, and I think he's almost been understated recently, but still excellent performances. Reece, I mean, I think the great thing about talking to you today was finally a Reece James cross that ends in a goal. Finally, you know, because it's been, I think one day it's going to happen. And last night it was the perfect sort of moment where Reece James getting forward, brilliant low cross and anticipation from Tammy to get across his man and then put the ball in very clinically. For me, that should be a trademark Lampard goal. I think that should be, when we think of a goal under Lampard, to me, that should be like top, like in terms of, can you name me what a Lampard goal is? Like you can name a Pep Guardiola goal for Man City or a Liverpool goal. That should be it for me. Do you agree? Because I think that's such a threatening area. If we get it right, if the anticipation and chemistry is there, teams are going to really struggle to deal with those crosses because they're incredible.
Yeah, man, keep spitting those facts. I think that really is like a great thing you said. That is like that quintessential Frank Lampard goal. And with Reece James, it was a matter of time before his crosses was going to get an assist. I think it's actually been harsh for him because people haven't been profiting from this amazing delivery that he's able to consistently bring every single game. Like when you can play like to such a high level every game, this is when you're a special player. And I really think with Reece, out of all the players we've seen, I think that this is like the first proper, super, like world-class, this guy could be someone in the future we're going to look back at and like, we can't not have a team without Reece James in the all-time Chelsea 11 because we've seen a lot of right-back performances. Azpilicueta, I've never seen Azpi put in this type of quality in the final third, which is important. I know defending's great too, but it's about everything together. Ivanovic was great, but you just feel with Reece that Ivanovic, even though he brought so many great qualities, there were slight limitations as well offensively. But with Reece, I don't see any weakness in anything. I don't see any weakness aerially. I don't see any weakness with his pace because he's always in the right position to keep up with someone. I don't see a weakness in how he distributes the ball. I don't see a weakness in his tactical understanding. I mean, you see him instantly knows when to move into midfield to help give us numbers there, when to make the overlap. Ben, if you ever seen, and remember we used to see this quite a lot under Conte, where Azpilicueta wasn't pushing forward in the final third. It felt like Willian was isolated all the time because Azpi was always behind the play. That's probably due to Azpi as a player for why that happened and not because of the tactics. Reece, you don't have any of those issues. And again, I know, the general consensus is that when you want to talk about these players in such like a special light, you have to be like, give them a few years and X, Y, Z. But I'm sorry, I've watched football for many, many years. I've seen many right backs from Melchior to Jeremy even play games to Paulo Ferreira to Bosingwa, who was underrated, Azpi, Ivanovic. I've seen so many right backs, but for me, probably the most talented one out of all of them is without a doubt Reece James, who I think probably by the end of this season I'm sure quite a few people in the fan base will see him as probably the best one we've had so far. And I just think that this guy will be a very important player in our history.
I think the thing about Reece is he's at Chelsea at the perfect time in terms of the style of football we want to play. I mean, I think that when you name all those, right backs in terms of talent, I think they were very much suited to the team they're in, obviously, in terms of being recruited. Dave has been an amazing servant for Chelsea under Mourinho, under Conte, a very versatile player, Ivanovic the same. But now you've got a player it's not just like, it's the variety in crossing that amazes me with Reece and the quality of them, because it's hard because it's almost like a great tennis player with a serve, being able to disguise where he's going to put that serve. Because there's very many different techniques to hit a serve, where he's going to put it, and the best players like Roger Federer can disguise it for the receiver of a serve. And I think it's the same with Reece James when he's crossing. It's very hard, I think, for a defender to know where that ball's going, because sometimes, like the one there, it's a low cross into the near post, which is hard to defend. Sometimes it's almost like a half cross, where it's like it loops, but it's a little bit lower, so it can reach maybe the chest of Timo Werner. Sometimes it goes to the back post. I know this is like a general thing in terms of crossing, but for that player to have that at his age, and to still think there's years of growth in front of him to really master that skill, it's an incredible thing.
Yeah. It is. It really is incredible. And, that variety in the crossing techniques we're seeing, again, can you say you've ever really seen that from Aspie? Can you say you've really ever seen that from Ivanovic? I mean, we've seen for, a good, the past 5-6 years, the issues we've had down that right-hand side. And for me, from last season, I've been saying Reece has played and he's instantly upgraded that right-hand side. I mean, Reece, I think, was one of the main reasons why Willian was so good for us last season, because finally Willian had a partner in crime, which he's never had since he signed for us, because he's always played with a very negative fullback down that side. I just think that Reece James, for me, he could probably get in the team that had Lampard, Terry, Drogba. I think he's of that caliber. And it's not just the technique, it's just like seeing the man he is, the character, you know what I mean? I think these types of mental tangibles that we don't normally give players enough credit for, that play a big part in regards to how they are as players, why they do certain things they do, the confidence they have in game to attempt certain things. From when Reece was playing at Wigan, I was like, oh crap, Reece is one of these guys. Like, this is a serious pro. And I was thinking, you can't even grow a personality like that. It needs to be in someone's nature already to have that. I just think, Reece, for me, he would probably get back in that team with Terry, Drogba, Lampard easily and be, performing on the same level as these guys. So Reece James, for me, the best player this season, because just out of the pure consistency that I haven't seen him play a 6 out of 10 game or even 7 out of 10. I probably say everything's like 7.5, 8 out of 10, consistently high, man.
Just one more thing before we move on to the last subject. Reece James, of course, a lot gets brought up about Tariq Lamptey at Brighton and how well he's done. And it's a bit of a bittersweet situation, to be honest. But, I feel that Reece's performances so far this season are really vindicating the fact that, you got to back Reece over Lamptey. It's a bit unfortunate. It's unfortunate for Lamptey that he came through at a time when we have two brilliant fullbacks. And Chelsea are developing a lot of great fullbacks at the moment. So I think we'll see the situation again pretty soon if Reece is dominating that position, and we may see Livramento may have a similar situation, or other fullbacks as well.
Might even buy Lamptey back. Who knows?
So what do you think about that whole situation? Because there's been debate online about it.
I don't know. I do think that obviously it's not even a debate. Reece James is the superior player, and that's not an insult at all to Tariq Lamptey, who's one of the best young fullbacks in this position. And it's no surprise everyone that's been watching our youth academy, and this is why it's so important, I think, as a Chelsea fan, to really care about the academy, because right now with the club, most of these guys you see, some of these guys be in the first team and some will actually be first team players too. So with Lamptey, he always had this really special ability of winning penalties, where he was a penalty magnet since the youth academy days. So it was no surprise that translated into the professional game. And for his tenacity, for all his control, his great defending 1v1. The thing is, Reece is just a more complete player, as we've seen from the consistent quality of the crosses. Lamptey doesn't do anywhere near close to that, and that's not an insult on him. That's just what it is. I do think that Reece James's ability to just provide something more in midfield. I think the tactical options he gives us as well. How he defends. Aerially, I mean, Lamptey doesn't win balls aerially. You know what I mean? It's just all those types of attributes and metrics. I just think that Reece tops Lamptey in. But, I think he's definitely a player to consider, because I think the reality is we are going to have to sign a backup fullback to compete alongside him, because Aspie's not going to do it forever, and Emerson and Alonso are going to be told to keep it moving soon. So, let's see what happens.